Hello, it's Rebecca from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Peartree cut files using this gorgeous cut file that was part of the December release. So it's already available in the store and you can get it either as a digital download or as a pre-cut file, and that'll be posted to you. It's one of my favourite ever files by Peartree. As soon as I saw it in the release, I knew I was desperate to use it, but it's actually taken me a while to decide how to use it because I had so many ideas for it. I wanted to cut it in white, and then I wanted to cut it in navy. I wanted to use certain patterned papers. I wanted to heat emboss it. I wanted to use vellum. I had all these ideas, and it was becoming very clear that I couldn't use all of them on the same layout. So it took me a while to have a think about what I wanted to do. And in the end, I decided to cut the cut file in white and then heat emboss it to make it silver. So for that, I've used, that's a Paper Mania silver embossing powder, and it's glittered, so it's really sparkly. And I've also offset the cut file to give it kind of a background, and I've also cut that in white. So I've just made it ever so slightly bigger than the actual edge of the cut file, so you will see it peeking out from sort of underneath the file and out around the edge. I've chosen this patterned paper by Pebbles to back the letters with. You saw me just there, I just gutted the middle out of that paper to use. I've kept the border. At this stage I knew I loved the paper and I wanted to have the option to use it as a border at some point if I wanted to. I didn't realise at the time of doing that it would actually end up on this layout, but that was why I gutted the middle before cutting out my letters. This cut file is actually really easy to work with. If you're new to cut files, it's probably a great one to start off with because it's not very intricate, and the only things really that need backing are these letters, and they're nice big chunky letters, so it makes the job really easy. So what I've done is drawn around the middle part of each of the letters backwards because I'm doing it on the back of my patterned paper. And then I cut them out, leaving a thin sort of border all around the outside, and then that gives me a little edge to stick to the back of my cut file. And because I've done it backwards on the back of my paper, I don't need to worry about rubbing out any pencil lines or anything. So I replace the middle bits in the B there, and then I leave them to dry fully before I just use a craft knife later on, and I'll just cut the middles of those out. And then just seeing how it looks on the offset section of my cut file, and I decided this looked a bit boring. I wanted a bit more sparkle, but I didn't want to overdo it completely because I knew I was going to have mixed media on my background. So I'm reaching back for the heat embossing, using my dabber, and I'm just going all the way around the outside and the middles where it will show through the letters. And this time I'm using a clear embossing powder. It is clear, but it leaves kind of like a shiny, shimmery effect. So you can still see it, very subtle, but for me it was just a bit more interesting than leaving that as just plain cardstock. And that's me just trying to show you some of the shimmer there. You'll see it as the light catches on it. It's really sparkly. Now it's all been heat embossed. It's really pretty. So this is the photo I'm scrapping today. It's of my little boy and I. I think it was either the end of 2017 or early 2018 when we had a freak snow, and we had loads and loads of snow, and took him out to play in it. I can't say it was his first snow because it actually snowed 3 days after he was born, so but it was the first snow he was kind of old enough to enjoy. Once I decided on where I wanted my photo and my cut file to sit, I just drew very roughly around the edge with a pencil just so I could see where to apply my mixed media. I've got the cardstock I'm using for my background here is a textured white basil cardstock. I love the effect of mixed media on textured cardstock, and I haven't used gesso because I much prefer the effect of mixed media without it. You kind of get a more like patchy effect where you can still see the white through it, as opposed to using gesso and adding lots of water and completely covering the background. So for this layout I wanted a more patchy look. So I started off with a Lindy's Stamp Gang Starburst spray in Sassy Sapphire, so like the lighter turquoise colour, and that's really shimmery. And then I've come in with a darker colour, which is a Shimmers paint. That is ultramarine, and that's an original Shimmers, so I just used that to add some sparkle. Some splatters, and that is really sparkly. Next I'm coming in with, I can never remember what this one's called. It's a spritzing ink, and again it's really shimmery, and that is called Ocean Blue, that one. So far everything I've used has got some form of shimmer in it, so it's going to be a very sparkly background. So I'm just going to see how my cut file sits on that. Where I've heat embossed it, it's kind of turned up and warped a bit at the edges, so just trying to flatten it out there. And I'm going to apply some craft foam behind my letters to add a bit of dimension, so this top part of the cut file will sit up off of the offset section. So I've applied some tape, and then I'm just fixing that with PVA glue. Just trying to figure out if I've got enough mixed media on my background and sort of in the right area. This paint I'm coming in with now is a Cosmic Shimmer iridescent watercolour paint, and it's called Indigo Sky. I've got quite a few of these paints and I really love them. Again, they're very shimmery. Well, these ones are called iridescent, but it's very shimmery. So I've come in and did a little bit of the packaging technique, and then adding in some splatters because I wanted to get some darker blue tones in to sort of go with my layout. So that's where things are going to sit. I'm not entirely happy with my cut file at this point. It doesn't stand off the page enough, so I need to have a think about what I want to do with it. So whilst I've got my many ideas going through my head, I'm going to continue to work on my background. It's a bit of a process, this background. This is a snowflake stencil. You can't see it very clearly on the camera, but I'm using texture paste through the stencil just with a plastic palette knife. I added some larger snowflakes kind of spread around the page. And still not content with my background, I'm going to come back in and add some smaller snowflakes. This texture paste is by Ranger, and it dries really quickly, which I really like about it. I can still sort of place my cut file on top like this, and just see if I'm happy with the placement of everything and it doesn't get ruined at all. But I wouldn't stick anything down until it was completely dry. So I'm still not entirely happy. I thought about adding a border there. I think my problem at this point is when I first saw this cut file, I wanted to use it. I had navy in mind as a feature colour on this layout, and I've ended up going with silver and white, and then my background is kind of lighter than navy. So I'm trying to bring some more navy in. So that was the Distress ink in Chipped Sapphire. I've just added some splatters to the background. And then I've got these small white snowflakes that I've cut on my manual cutting machine. And I'm just using an ink blending tool to colour those again with Chipped Sapphire to bring some more of the navy in. This won't be the last you see of me doing this. I also I wanted the same colour navy as a matte for my photo, but I appear to have run out of basil cardstock in that shade. So I had to use the exact same technique there to just colour some white cardstock with the blending tool, so that I had the navy there to matte my photo. So now I'm trying to find a way to darken up my cut file a bit. and get some navy onto it. So I'm going around the edge of the offset section, trying to add a kind of navy border with the blending tool. But where I've heat embossed it, it's not really taken as much as I was hoping it would, and it's not really visible. So back to the drawing board, and whilst I'm thinking on what to do next, I'm just sticking these little snowflakes down. I'm using foam pads to raise those up. And this is where I finally made a decision. So I cut an offset section of the offset and I used the blending tool and the chipped sapphire again and coloured it in navy to give the whole cut file a navy border. And I'm much happier with that. It just pops off the page a bit more. It's not so lost on my busy background, and it just frames it nicely. So really happy with how that came out. So I've matted my photo onto white cardstock, and then I've used that layer of navy blue that I've made with the ink blending tool and the chipped sapphire. And now I'm adding a layer of tissue paper that is white with silver snowflakes all over it, just for a bit more texture and interest on the page. I'm still toying with the idea of a border here. Normally I only leave 1/4 of an inch on each side to add a border, but what I decided to do is add a thicker border for this and really distress and turn up the edges of my white cardstock. So I've got a much thicker border than normal. And again, I've used that Pebbles patterned paper that I used to back the letters in my cut file, and I've also just added a layer of the same paper behind my photo. So coming back to my background again, this is one of the longest videos I've made because I just kept fiddling with my background. I'm coming back in now with some snowflake stamps. So I'm using the chipped sapphire distress ink again, and I'm just going around just randomly adding some, I'd call them medium-sized snowflakes. They're about the same size as the ones I've coloured, and then I come back in with a smaller stamp and just dot some smaller ones around, and again that just spreads that navy out a little bit more. So now I'm more happy with that. I won't say I'm completely happy because there's still more to come, but I'm more happy with it. So I know where my cut file is going to sit, so I just use some double-sided tape to stick that down, and I also commit and stick my photo down as well. I'm using a layer of craft foam behind my photo to raise it up to the same height as my cut file, because I used the adhesive foam tape behind my letters, so that's already raised. So I've just brought the photo up to the same level, and then I just have to move a couple of those snowflakes around just to make them work. So now I've got some sparkly silver deco web ribbon. I love this stuff. I've got it in so many different styles and colours. I get it from a shop in the Isle of Wight. So I've pulled out 2 here because I wasn't sure which one to use, but I've gone with the more sparkly of the 2. And I just cut it so that it's not a straight edge. I want it kind of rough looking. So I kind of cut a wavy line, and then I just slot a piece under each side of my photo there, just for a bit more texture on the page and of course a bit more sparkle. This pattern paper is by Pink Fresh Studio. It's called Merry and Bright. I'm not sure if that's the collection name or the paper name actually. Doesn't say on it, but I think it's a slightly older one. But I'm just fussy cutting a blue tree from it. The sticker sheet I want to use to embellish this layout is quite light blue, so I needed to get some other blue elements in. So I just fussy cut this tree, and I'm going to stick that to the right of my photo there. So this is the sticker sheet I'm using. It's by Echo Park and it's the Winter Magic collection, and it is super pretty, this collection, and the colours in it are beautiful and perfect for this layout. So I've got a little banner here of kind of dangling mittens, but there was quite a bit of white space in between the mittens, so I've just trimmed that off. I normally struggle to use these banner pieces because they never really look right wherever I put them. It just looks like I've kind of plonked them somewhere as an afterthought, but quite happy with this one. So I stuck it just hanging under my photo there leading up to that tree. And then I've got a darker blue Christmas tree there to the left and a snow globe that's got both the light blue and the dark blue tones in it, so that worked really well. Excuse me. And then I'm just going to raise those up onto foam pads and try and slot them next to my photo there. I'm not going to add too much in the way of embellishing on this layout because my background is already very busy with all the mixed media I've done, so it's just a case of adding a few bits in just here and there. Sticking with the same sticker sheet, I've just pulled off a large snowflake sticker, raise that up with foam pads and do the same with the top of the Christmas tree there. And then I'm just going to add some silver thread tangles either side of my photos. I really love this silver thread. I've got it in gold as well. It's quite a wiry texture, so it's really easy to create thread tangles with. I find it really easy to work with for this. However, it really doesn't go through my sewing machine very well. So although it's great for tangles and for like hand stitching, it's fine with, I can't get away with using it in my sewing machine. It just doesn't like it at all. I wanted to add something in the bottom right corner there, so I've just cut a couple of bits off of a banner there. The top bit says "Baby, it's cold outside," and the bottom one says "Everything is magical when snow is falling," which I thought was a really nice sentiment, went really well with this photo. So I'm raising both of these strips up on foam pads and then just layer them at the bottom there under my cut file, and just brings the navy down into that bottom corner as well. And another snowflake sticker underneath that. And just go through a couple of other sticker sheets that I've got, just seeing if there's anything else I can make work on this layout. I've got a few sparkly snowflake stickers here that I've had in my stash for years, probably since I started scrapbooking. I'm not even sure where they came from, but I just added a few of them as the colours were perfect, they matched really well. And then I've got a pack of jewels here. It's a multicoloured pack. I think it's called Disco or something like that. So I just picked out all the blue tones from it, and I'm just using glossy accents to stick those down. I'm just going to spread those around here and there, just dot them around the layout. And there's not much more to do, thank goodness, because this layout has been a proper process. I think it's because I had so many ideas when I first saw this cut file, and I was trying to get them all on the page. So I really had to rein it in and try not to overdo it too much, but still get as many things as I could on the layout that I wanted on there. I think this is one of the final touches now. Just add a couple of white snowflakes. These are Bramble Fox perspectives. I think they're one of the new winter sets from this year. I think they're mini perspectives, but they're brilliant. I love them. You've got snowflakes, blue stars and silver stars in the same pack. I tried to add a couple of the stars onto this layout, but because I don't have any other stars anywhere else, I decided against it and just stuck with the two snowflakes. And then I decided to add more to my background. This is a silver spray bottle. I think it's a distress spray. Just add some sparkle silver around the edge there. And you'll be pleased to know I'm almost done. I have to praise you for sticking with me on this one because it really was a long process. But I wasn't happy with the frame on my layout. At this point I was wishing I'd gone with a dark navy frame. So what I decided to do instead is, where I'd distressed all the edges, I went round again with a blending tool and my chipped sapphire and just added a bit of distress colour to the edge to make it a bit darker. and I'm finally happy. So thank you very much for joining me for this video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and head over to Peartree Cutfiles. As well as the website, there's also a Facebook group you can join for weekly freebies and loads of inspiration. So please do head over and check out the group if you haven't already. So thanks again for joining me. I'll leave you with the close-ups, and I'll see you next time.